The biggest difference between passive media like books, movies, and TV, and interactive media like choose your own adventures, video games, or interactive theater is that in the former, a viewer is presented a story, while in the latter, the user experiences a story. And this small, seemingly semantic difference between the two makes a huge difference in how you approach believable, dynamic characters. So let's look at how we can take advantage of a viewer-oriented story when constructing our characters. First, let's consider what it means when we want a story to be oriented around the viewer. That doesn't mean that the viewer is always going to be themselves. You can have them take on the role of a single character, multiple characters, or a third-person omniscient point of view, although that last one can get a little murky. But whatever you choose, you want to make sure that the player has influence on major character beats. With books and TV, there's this sense that the story exists outside of the viewer, but because video games tend to be made for a single-person audience in mind, players tend to feel more personally involved with the actions on screen. That being said, it's still highly recommended that you change up the input of major story events so the user needs to directly interact with it to make the story continue. Press this button to kill your brother has a much different feeling than fratricide just being another line of dialogue. And to wield these player interactions properly, a good writer needs to know how to take a non-playable character and establish, enforce, expose, and change the character. The cycle of establish, enforce, expose, and change is something you'll continually be doing with characters throughout a narrative. When you establish a character, you're defining the character's role in relation to the player character and the world around them. When you enforce a character, you're cementing in the player's mind that the establishment of that character is true. When a player interacts with the character in this part of the cycle, we're reinforcing the character's personality and story function. When you expose a character, you're letting that character be vulnerable and susceptible to outside forces. When a player interacts with the character in this part of the cycle, this is where they will have a meaningful, impactful influence, which will lead to changing a character. Here, we want the character to undergo some sort of change, even if it's minor, which will then establish, and will take some time to enforce the new status quo until they hit a new point of vulnerability. Now, this might look like a character arc, like the hero's journey or story wheel, but it's way smaller than that. This is a visual depiction of players' interactions with characters, and it's something you're going to be using over and over and over again to meter out player interactions with several different characters. So let's look at the two halves of this cycle and what they bring to the table. In the establish and enforce stage, we want to let players explore the character and help define who they are. Through the character introduction and narrative, we want to give the player a rough understanding of who this character is. The important parts of the establish and enforcement stages are that these interactions need to be relatively consequence-free and be intentional discoveries by the player. They need to be consequence-free because you're giving the player a chance to explore this character, and if you lay out a bunch of social landmines, the player is going to feel as comfortable getting to know them. So you don't want any bad options. If the player wants to interact with the character, they should be rewarded with information and discovery, but they shouldn't be penalized for interacting wrong. It's also important that the player feels like they earned this information by taking the time to engage or making the decision to make one interaction over another. These little moments can do a lot to round out a character and give the reader a clearer sense of exactly the type of character they are. So let's introduce the bookworm. The player met her when she had her nose stuck in a book and ran right into them. She doesn't talk much, usually hangs out in the library, and does very well in classes. In traditional passive media, this is really all we need to know about this archetype. And even talking to them and having them talk back to you is supposed to be like a huge character moment. So it'd be really weird if the first time the user interacts with them, they have a life-changing talk. The informed knowledge is a massive disconnect from the actual experience, and usually the experience is going to be the more impactful on the player. So how do we enforce this character so the player perceives them the way we intend them to? Give the player the option to talk to the girl. If she gets flustered and ends up saying nothing or buries her face harder in her books, the player will experience her shyness firsthand. The more options of approach you give the player to interact with this character, the more opportunities you have to clarify exactly the type of person she is. And I don't mean just different dialogue options, I mean give the player a range of different social interactions to feel out the character. Let the player suggest some different books to her. Depending on the book, she'll have a little something to say before she runs out of steam. She's shy, but she still wants to talk about stuff she likes. Give the player the option to say, I'm not much of a reader, and maybe she'll get a little mad and loan them a book with a note that says, don't return until you've read it. This is a girl who is very confident in the power of a good book. And if you want to subvert player expectations, this is the place to do it. Maybe the character can pick her for a game of kickball and she's awesome at it. She's clearly not just reading all day, there's something else going on with that girl. Learning this information firsthand is much different than getting all these details front-loaded. Now, I said earlier that the bookish character opening up is supposed to be a big character moment, but when we're dealing with impactful player interactions, there's a way to make these moments hit even harder. When you fight a boss in a video game, you don't just wail on them until they're dead. They're usually impervious or less susceptible to damage, and you need to wait for just the right moment when you can make a hard-hitting attack. This same thing should be applied to character interactions. The establish and enforce stage is their default defensive positions, while the expose and change stage is where they're susceptible to damage, or in this case, susceptible to positive effects as well. Once you have a character established and enforced, we can now use the player's expectations of that character to create a situation where the player can recognize this isn't usual behavior from them. It's great to save the expose and change section until the player has had a set number of interactions with the player first, but you don't want it to be the negative result of choices the player has made in the enforcement stage. We don't want the exposure to feel like something the player has done to negatively impact the character. We want the exposure to prime the player that they're going to see a raw side of the character. Now, usually something negative works here. A family tragedy, a personal failure, or even a momentary setback can be enough to rattle a character, and it can easily be identified as not normal. If we have the normally loud and boisterous character, we can catch them when they're quiet and reserved. If we have a shy character, we can see them when they're angry and shouting. If you have the prim and proper character, we can have the hair sticking out of place that won't come back down. But positive emotions can work too. If you catch the stoic when they're so happy they're crying, or the miser triumphantly buying a round of beer for the whole bar, they're gonna open up. But they can't just be happy, they need to be so happy they're doing something completely out of character. The important part is that we're catching them in a state of heightened emotions, outside of their norm, when they'll be more likely to talk about things that don't come up in casual conversation. Their fears, their wishes, their drives, their nightmares. These are all things that people normally keep to themselves or only talk about with their closest friends. But when they're caught off kilter, they're more likely to discuss deeply personal issues. And wow, when this happens to you in real life, it can be a little uncomfortable and a little stressful. But when you can connect with people in these moments, it can be exhilarating. And that is exactly how you want your players to feel right before they make an important decision. Once you're at that emotional height, right at that climax, that's when you want the players to make an impactful decision that will change the character. This is where you cut the wire on the bomb. This is where you'll hold hands the first time. This is where you punch the boss. And we want to see the consequences that follow, good or bad. Setup and payoff. Generally, the more heightened the emotion, the more impactful we want the consequences to be. If the bookworm is a little bummed they got a C, and the player tells them you didn't study enough for the test, the negative consequence at most should be the character's now a little annoyed with the player. If the bookworm is devastated they got a C, bawling so bad their nose is running, and the player tells them, oh, you didn't study enough for the test. Yeah, it's completely understandable if the bookworm tries to kill them. Totally get it. Giving the player choices between good or bad options in this section is great, but not totally necessary. Even if a player only has one choice, because you've already built up this moment a lot, the impact is going to feel a lot greater than if it was just some cutscene. Again, it's great to have this moment be something other than just another dialogue. If you can make this moment physical, a hand on the shoulder, a hug, a slapper, just failing to say or do anything at all, it's going to be just as powerful as words. And it could be something protracted too. It doesn't just have to be one interaction. As long as you keep that emotional height throughout the scene and build to a climax, it's gonna be great. This setup and payoff helps make big character moments feel like events, and helps players emotionally connect to these parts of the story. But to really cement them, you need to follow through on these moments. Okay, so the player just told the bookworm she didn't study enough for the test, and now she wants to kill the player. If shortly after this big character moment she's just shy again, back to status quo, then what was the point of all that? Once a character is emotionally vulnerable, the player makes an impactful decision, and the character changes because of that decision, We want those changes to stick. Going back to establishing and enforcing this new character dynamic. So back in our example, the shy bookworm is now the player's mortal enemy. You want to establish it by actually stating it or showing it, and then when the player interacts with the bookworm, we want the bookworm to interact in reaction to this new status quo. You can keep the same sorts of interactions as earlier and show how the character's response has changed due to this new status change. The player says they're not much of a reader, she'll openly write out her sinister plans, suspecting the player won't read them. If the player picks her for kickball, she'll aim the ball at their head whenever she's at the plate. Just like before, we want these interactions to be relatively consequence-free and player-motivated. We want the player to feel free to explore the bounds of her hatred and feel a little silly for questioning if she's still mad. If we want the bookworm to follow through on her threats, or maybe just forgive the player, we'll want to wait until the next expose and change part of the cycle. So that's how you can template out character interactions, but let's see what happens when you change it up a little bit. One big complaint is when character interactions feel like lock-picking games. You're just trying to find the right thing to say to the characters to get them to respond positively to you. And the wrong thing will at best get you nowhere, and at worst result in failure. These games will establish characters, but add consequences to the enforce part of the cycle here, and save the expose and change parts of the story until you've either done very good or very, very bad. Now these can still be impactful moments because the player earned the consequences, but it can also dehumanize the character because the player likely chose whatever options were best instead of having an honest conversation with the character. And again, with this cycle, the fix is easy. Save consequential conversations until the character is feeling vulnerable, and otherwise let the player freely explore their relationship with the character. On the other end, big emotional scenes can feel a little flat if they're inconsequential. If a player has an intense scene with a character, that should change the dynamic between them and alter how they interact with the player. If the character talks with the player like nothing happened, it can make the character seem wooden. This usually occurs when a developer plans for some base interactions with the characters, but doesn't think to include alternate dialogue in case certain flags are set. The change doesn't need to be big, but there's a world of difference between hearing a character say "I hate you" or losing the ability to talk to them completely. And finally, if a character undergoes a big change without the player directly interacting with them, it can be a little confusing. Now you might be saying to yourself, that sounds like characters changing without player input is a nice narrative tool. Have the character suddenly act coldly to the player without the player knowing why, and suddenly the player doesn't know what to do. But let's think about how that usually works in traditional media. Usually a sudden change in a character comes about because they learn something about the protagonist that changes their opinion. But they don't just leave it there. Usually these come to a head with a big confrontation, or in sitcoms where this sort of thing is a staple, it gets resolved by the end of the episode. Now we see that a sudden shift in attitude could be considered part of the exposed stage, and the confrontation leads to the change, where their friendship is strengthened or they're more apart than ever. This confrontation is still important because if a character changes, the viewer still finds out why. If a character changes and it's never established why, that's CinemaSin. Now that you have a strategy for tackling character interactions, it's time to tackle the full story. So be sure to check out this next video. But if you found this video useful, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment so more people can see it. I mean, it would be very nice, thank you. And I also reply to most comments, so you can say hi, I'll say hi back. Hi.